I think that those of us, and I'm going to say of us, those of us who know better have to do better for our community. I can't criticize my boy Ray Ray who got a barbershop and he cuts hair and he wants to expand, but all he does is buy Jordans with his money, right? I cannot criticize Ray Ray no more because that's what he knows. It was designed for him to stay here, right? So me as a consultant or somebody who wants to see him do well, I have to approach Ray Ray from a different perspective. Hey, bro, what happened to the other? I thought we was expanding the shop. Yo, man, I really want to do that, but yo, man, it's crazy. All right, cool, Ray Ray. You know what I'm gonna do for you? I'm gonna do an analysis for your business to show you how profitable you can be if you were to save your money, open up a second shop, so you could buy 6 Jordans at the same time instead of just one. A word, Sam? You could do that for me? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Come back to Ray Ray. Hey, look, these are the projections and this is where we can go. This is how we can scale your business. If we just do 2 or 3 different things, bro. Just do 2 or 3 things differently, we could get over here.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Welcome back to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Have you ever felt the hustle and bustle of today's entrepreneurial world? I am pretty sure you have. The opportunities are vast, but the challenges can be overwhelming. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in this journey for a while, you know that resilience and operational efficiency are the keys to unlocking your path to success. As a Black entrepreneur, particularly if you're navigating the world of business for the first time, you face unique obstacles and opportunities. That's why it's vital to equip yourselves with the knowledge and strategies that will help you thrive, overcome the hurdles, and truly make your mark. Operational efficiency isn't just a buzzword. It's the linchpin to sustainable growth. As an entrepreneur, you understand that resources, be it time or money, are precious and limited. So, operating efficiently is all about making the absolute most of what you have. In this episode, we're about to dive deep into the world of resilience and operational efficiency. We'll provide you with invaluable insights into optimizing your operations, streamlining processes, and boosting productivity. What truly sets this episode apart is our remarkable guest. He's not just an expert, he's the guiding light for entrepreneurs, especially Black entrepreneurs. Our guest, Pierre, managing partner at SMP Global Consultants, a prominent Black-owned management consulting firm, shares his extensive knowledge and expertise in government affairs, energy, and healthcare administration. In the upcoming minutes, you'll have the opportunity to learn from a seasoned pro the crucial role of management consulting in achieving business success, strategies for enhancing leadership effectiveness, and driving change within your organization. We're going to talk about navigating disruptions and leveraging emerging technologies to gain that competitive edge, and some practical steps to build resilience within your business, and of course, so much more. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or you're just starting out on your journey, consider this episode your personalized roadmap to not only survive, but thrive in the dynamic world of business. Let's dive in. Sam, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So excited to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. Of course, on the Black to Business Podcast, we like to introduce our audience to who we're talking to. So if you could just share a little bit about who you are, we're going to dive more into what you do, who you are, what is it that you do, and how did you get where you are today in your business?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Pierre. I am the managing partner and managing director of SMP Global Consultants. We are a management consulting firm that focuses on healthcare, public affairs, business development, energy, and all other business industries that help minorities grow. In a nutshell, we're like the McKinsey, the Bain and Co's, and all the large consulting firms, except for there's a black guy that's in charge here.
Love that. And so excited to dive into your expertise today. We're going to talk all about how to build resilience while mastering operational efficiency. So first, as a management consulting firm, I like to break it down on the Black to Business podcast. So first, let's understand the role of a management consulting. So can you explain to my audience management consulting, what it is and why it's crucial for businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, to consider the service?
Absolutely. So the way I like to explain it to everyone is, let's say you were running a paint shop, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to grow your company. You want to take your company from, let's say you're making $500,000 a year in revenue for your paint shop, but you want to go to making $3 million a year, right, in revenue. If you're selling paints, traditionally, you're not focusing on sales, business development, market trends. You're not focusing on the different schools in your area that might need painting, because schools always need to be painted over. You're not focusing on government because the government has to paint the streets over, or they have their buildings need to be painted. So you as a paint shop, you might bring in a consultant. Consultant comes in, and if that consultant is focusing on business development, you will tell that consultant, look, I want to make $3 million over the next 2 years. Create a plan for me that will get me from $500,000 right now to $3 million over the next 2, 3, or 5 years. That consultant comes, they look at everything that's going on in your company. They look at how much staff you have. They look at, what you spend your time and your money on, and they look for the opportunities around. They come up with a plan and a strategy on how to go after those opportunities. And if we're able to reach that goal, right, the consultants will get a success fee, right, and then a percentage of whatever revenues came from the additional revenues that you were able to get because of having the consultant there. Now, this happens on all different levels in life. This happens as something as small as a company who was making $10,000 and now they want to make $100,000, and then it happens on the level of a company who's making $10 million and they want to make $1 billion, right? And depending on the level, that will determine the price that the business has to pay the consultant on a monthly basis, which is called a retainer, and how many consultants are going to focus on their strategy or on that client per se to make sure that they meet their goals. So that's what a management consultant does. They come in. And it may be different levels, right? It could be building revenue. It could be finding out who your competitors are. It could be figuring out, we heard there's a new contract coming to the town. How do we get a piece of it, right? So it could be multiple different needs that the business owner has, but because they want to focus on what they do, they're going to hire somebody else to come in and focus on how to get them to their goals. I hope that made sense.
Perfect sense. And I love that breakdown. Makes sense. Now, why is this especially important for Black-owned businesses to consider this service?
Very happy you asked. The reason why it's important for Black businesses to consider this is because 80% of Black businesses are service businesses, right? Now, why? Why is 80% of Black businesses service? And when I say service, barber, beautician, mechanic, right? Nail tech. Many a times, the service industry and the service businesses, they get us the cash flow quickly, right? So this is what we call cash flow ready businesses. So I know if I get a haircut, once the barber cuts my hair, I pay him, we're done. He gets his money, I get my service, we're done, right? So, but here's the problem. The problem with service businesses is traditionally a service business cannot scale to become a multi-million-dollar business, right? You're very seldom will you see a barbershop owner, right, scale to have, 40 barbershops, right, and he's making $500,000 a year in revenue, right? Not saying that never happens. I'm sure there's a Black barber barbershop owner somewhere here that is doing pretty well, but to the scale where they can go public and people can invest in their company, a lot of times that doesn't happen. We also ask ourselves this number one question: why aren't there many Black billionaires? Right? The answer is very simple. There's not a lot of Black companies that go public. If your company isn't going public on the New York Stock Exchange, right, it doesn't give investors the opportunity to invest in your company. It doesn't give your company the opportunity to make billions of dollars, and therefore there aren't going to be a lot of Black billionaires, right? So if a majority of Black businesses are service businesses that, right, they're not selling a product, right? For example, like Adidas or Nike, right? And then in addition to that, they aren't on the stock market where investors, no matter where you're from, are investing in their companies, then they're not going to become billionaires. And if we aren't producing, right, 30, 40, 50 billionaires, right, then monies are not going to be reflected back into the Black community, which is going to keep us on the poverty line. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand perfectly.
Like
yeah.
In order for us to, because if there's only 5 billionaires, right? If there's only 5 billionaires, if there's only 5 Black billionaires, then what tends to happen is for every Black billionaire, there's 100,000 people who need help from them. Does that make sense? So if there's 100,000 Black businesses that are looking to this one billionaire, what happens if this billionaire is not a billionaire anymore? What happens if they get tired? What happens if they get, if they get, they lose their mind, right? What happens if they can't sustain, right? Now they're unable to help those 100,000 businesses, right? When you talk to white billionaires, they tell you that they have hundreds of businesses. It may not be their own personal business, but these are the businesses that they invest their monies in, right? That they're trying to make sure that these businesses survive and are successful, because they understand if those businesses are successful, they will still stay in the billionaire category, right? So if you only have 5 billionaires there, so that means there's only 500,000 Black businesses that can be supported by these billionaires. Eventually, we're going to die out. So I took the long way to answer your question, but the goal is to have 20 billionaires, 30 Black billionaires, 40 Black billionaires. And then now they can support more Black businesses. The money can trickle down, and now the Black community can pull itself out of poverty.
Definitely. So therefore, looking into this in management consulting is so that there are more opportunities for Black-owned businesses so that they can distribute, the wealth and have more Black businesses to be
absolutely, absolutely. If a black accountant isn't in the conversation of getting the contract for their city, for their retirement contract, for them to manage the retirement contract for that city, right? They're never going to scale. How is a Black accounting firm, a small Black accounting firm, two brothers and a sister, how are they going to go from 600,000 to $600 million? Has anybody stopped to think how? Does it just happen over? Does it how? What would make this accounting firm that everybody and their mama in the church, everybody uses this, they do everybody's taxes? How do they go from 600,000 a year to 600 million? What is the process? What are the steps? Right? We just hear about it in the magazines, but can someone really lay out what is the steps to go from there? They have to have a management consultant, right? Or they have to identify an opportunity, right? That can change their business's life cycle. Oh my gosh, the city has this. They have a contract. They're looking for a Black firm, CPA, to be able to manage all of the retirement systems for the city, right? How much is that contract? Oh, this contract is for $60 million over 5 years. Once that CPA firm wins that contract, they now went from being a $600,000 firm to a $600 million firm, right? Because it's about valuation, right? So for
Yes.
them to own that contract, to have that contract, their firm now has, has 10x, 20x in value. Now that business, what are they going to have to do? They got to hire more people, right? Ain't no way those three people are going to be able to do that contract by themselves.
Right. More
They got to hire
opportunity.
more people. They got to open more offices, right? They have to buy more computers, more desks. So now it becomes, it trickles down. And if they buy and preach black, right, that means they're going to be hiring more black folk, and that's going to empower the black community. So our firm focuses on how can we get more CPA companies like the one I use as an example. How do we help them get more of these opportunities? Because the more they grow, the more my firm grows. The more my firm grows, the more people I can hire, the more businesses I can buy, the more businesses I can invest in. And this can really help the black community grow.
I love that perspective. And I think I love the example that you gave, because so many times people think, it's the hustle. We're thinking we got to work harder, but situations like these and scenarios like these show us that it's about working smarter, and there are more opportunities out there. So I love that. And so, Sam, let's talk a little bit about, before we get into diving more into this, your background and your journey that actually led you to become the managing partner at SMP Global Consultants. So talk about your background and your focus on, specifically, as you mentioned in the beginning, government affairs, energy, and healthcare administration. Like, how did you get into this?
Let me tell you, my track here is very unconventional, right? So I didn't go to undergrad and do very well and get, a high GPA, and then went to grad school, got an MBA, and then, worked for a consulting firm for 3 years, hated it, and left. No, that's the traditional management consulting story, right?
Yep.
Not my story at all. I went to undergrad in Queens, New York, St. John's University. Shout out to St. John's. Had a time of my life. Totally was a B- C student, right? But I cared about people. I joined student government there. Student government changed my life. I went from, student government definitely changed my life. And then I decided, hey, I like how it feels to help people, right? And to be able to leverage resources to help folks. So I got into government politics. So, I had an opportunity to work for Mike Bloomberg as his director of African American Caribbean Affairs for the city of New York, where I got to really learn how a city can help or hurt Black people, right, with its resources. And being a director there, I was able to allocate funds and projects, put projects together, see things through, right, to really give me an economic development mentality. Right. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brooklyn.
I live in Brooklyn.
I got it. Oh, okay. Wonderful. So you might love or hate me. Right. So I was on the team that brought the Brooklyn Nets to Brooklyn. Right.
Oh, I'm not from Brooklyn.
So watching that project come to fruition was very impactful for me, especially at a very young age.
Yeah.
And then so I seen how that project was able to make so many multimillionaires, right? And a few billionaires, a project. So I said, wow, and then I also got a chance to work on Brooklyn Bridge Park. Not sure if you're familiar, but Brooklyn Bridge Park was my project, and I got a chance to work on there and to ensure that certain things that were in the park also reflected the diversity of Brooklyn. All right. So working on those two projects, I believe it really got me to think about economic development in a different way. So, when I went to graduate school, and so I went to I got a EMPA, which is a MPA MBA, right? Hybrid, where so my degree is in finance and in public affairs, right? So I got the finance side. I spent a lot of time at the business school, right? Learning different things and understanding it. During graduate school, everyone is like, oh, we're going to go work at a management consulting firm, right? So that we can, like I said earlier, help businesses grow and make money. And I just throughout my whole time at Columbia, I was just like, well, what about Black businesses, right? Because I'm seeing through all these case studies and through all the work that I'm doing, how you can take white companies and double. They literally were teaching us how to leverage our minds to help companies grow, right? They were training us as robots, right? To go out there and help white people triple, quadruple their monies. And I said, well, who's doing this for Black companies? Who's helping Black companies double and triple and quadruple their earnings? And as I continue to do research, I started to see that I'm not the only Black management consulting firm out there, but we're very few and far between. And then a lot of these firms end up falling under specific specializations because you can't afford to stay general, right? Because you have to go where the contract is, right? And then so that further separates us. What do I mean by that? Meaning, like, you might, if you're a nurse and you want to do healthcare, so you could find a Black management consulting firm, but they only focus on healthcare. So that's all they do, right? So that's their focus. That's all they do. They don't do anything else because it's hard for them to do anything else because they can't afford to do anything else, right? But also what it also does is it doesn't help the folk who are not interested in health, right? What if you have a young person who's interested in technology or energy, right? What if you have a really smart black group of individuals who want to take their energy company to the next level? Who's going to help them if everybody's helping the nurses, right? So that's where my firm came in, and literally out of college, out of grad school, I started SMP Global Consultants. With my capstone project that I had actually turned into my first client.
Wow!
And my first opportunity, and it was great. The first year I worked on that client, and I thought that I was going to have 500 clients just falling in my lap, and that absolutely did not happen. All right. The second and third year, we was broke. Broke. We were broke. Okay. And we really felt the burden of, oh, you're a new business? Let me show you what new businesses have to go through, bro. Right. And we suffered hard. Our second and third year, when I tell you we suffered, we went through the gutter just to try to stay alive, right? And I now, looking back, I see how important that is, because if you don't understand, what businesses go through, it's very hard for you to help a business, right? Bottom line, like, it's hard for you to really help a business if you never went through it yourself. So it was a blessing in disguise for us to have gone through those really tough years, chasing business, figuring it out, trying to stay alive. And things turned around, and we're here now.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that part of your story. And I think that's important because you took that non-traditional route after college. And then also, of course, this is the Black to Business podcast, and we've had guests on here. And I always try to stress the importance of niching down, like you also spoke about, like focus. But for a lot of people in our community, they feel like they have to hide who they are, hide who they focus on. So for you to have that win eventually, to say, right, I'm going to take this risk to focus specifically on Black entrepreneurs. And I want to also talk about the benefits that has had for your business of focusing specifically on Black businesses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I credit my fraternity brother, Sean Rochester. He wrote a book called The Black Tax, that I think every Black person who cares about economic development or any kind of upward mobility in the Black community, they should definitely pick that up. It's on Amazon. It's all over the place. It's called The Black Tax by Sean Rochester. When you read The Black Tax and you start to understand how Black people in this country, we have to pay a tax for being Black for any industry, for anything that we do. Right. When you after reading The Black Tax, I just knew and I understood that I can't just be a part of I couldn't just be a part of the status quo. Meaning, it's almost like I always tell my team, like, it's almost like I seen it. I should have never seen it. Right.
Yeah.
I wish they never showed it to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Damn, if I ain't see it, then maybe I would have been like everybody else. I would have been good. Right.
Right.
But unfortunately, I seen it. Like, damn, I seen it.
Yeah.
Right. I see what they doing to those folks. So I can't not say something because I seen it with my own two eyes. So now it's like anything else would go against who the origins of who I am. Right. And who and what my community is. So that doesn't mean that I don't take any white clients at all. Right. I would hate for a white person to hear this podcast and to say Sam hates white people. That's not it at all.
No, I'm not gonna think that. White folks listen to this podcast too. I heard it. I've seen it. So yeah.
I mean, I like white people. I have a white best friend. Right now.
Oh my God! Like, I'm not a black best friend.
I like white. I love white people. You know, I celebrate 4th of July. No, but but yeah. So it's just that I know that blacks, are suffering much harder. So it's like, I had to focus on how do we do that. And with a lot of the legislation that came out promoting, hiring MWBEs, increasing government spending to 40, 50, 60%, where minorities and women-owned businesses, they need to be on these contracts. It also kind of paved the way and a lane for me to, help them figure out what that means, because people read that all the time. And what the hell does that mean? Oh, yeah, minorities, there's a 30% spend on all contracts in New York City. So that means if a contract is worth $1 million, $300,000 of it has to go to a minority company, right? And that sounds good. And it's like, oh, yeah. But what the hell does that mean, right?
Right.
How do we get that? How do we become part of that list? How do we become part of that crew of people who the government can say, all right, cool. All right, we could pick you. We'll pick your company so that you can be, so that you can get this contract. So I wanted to be one of the companies that figured that out so that I can help my companies be a part of that and grow their revenues. So that's one of the reasons why I focused on minority, minority companies.
I love that. And I think it's also a part of business. It's, when you do smart business, it's the saying, like, if you focus on everyone, you focus on no one. So understanding that is very key. So it's important to, be niche. And for us, it's Black folks.
Right.
So love that. And knowing those things that and based on your experience and the insights that you've gotten, what are some of the challenges that you see Black entrepreneurs often encounter in the business world, and how can management consulting help them navigate these challenges effectively?
Yeah. So, girl, you just threw a wide net, girl. Well, first and foremost, I'm in a phase in my life now. I'm reading things like, right now I'm reading, books that like people like James Baldwin and a few other folks who were there before us, where they really talk about the root of the problem in the Black community, right? So I'm no longer that, oh man, we have so much problems. Black people, we need to get our stuff together. No, like, this whole thing was intentionally done, right, to target Black folks so that we do not win, right? Like, this is not a political opinion of mine. This is not you know what I mean? This is not just like my thoughts. This has been proven. And again, I sound like I'm a salesman when I sell the Black Tax, the book. But we talk about it, and the Black Tax is able to quantify how much money the Black community is owed, right?
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, we owe reparations. No. Quantify how much money the Black community is owed from being excluded from industry, right? So when you approach business and entrepreneurship from, that lens, right? It completely changes. So as a consultant now, I'm no longer coming in to say, hey, Misha, let me see what you're working on. Oh my God, you don't even have a website, Misha? Right? That's no longer my approach to it, right? My approach now is, okay, Misha, I understand why you may not have a website because ain't nobody told you that you needed a website. You've been, you braid hair, Misha. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what you do. You braid hair. And if you braid hair, your clients are coming through text messages and Facebook and Instagram. So that's the face of your business, right? If we want to talk about it from a strategic business lens, that is your customer's first interface with your business might be through IG, right? So if Misha don't have a website, as a consultant, I don't need to be coming in there. Oh my God, I can't believe you don't have a website. No.
Right.
Hey, Misha, let's see, how successful you've been operating only on Instagram, right? Okay, great. Are we leveraging search engine optimization on your Instagram page so that the world can know who you are? Oh, we're not. Why don't we keep your Instagram? Because I know that that's how you make your money. That's how you get your clients. Let's add a website, right? Because at least with the website, we can check your search engine optimization. We can see how many people go to your website, and we could be a little bit more targeted with our ads so that you have your Instagram and your website. How do you feel about that?
Yes.
All right. You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So it's no longer from a lens of, I think that those of us, and I'm going to say of us, those of us who know better have to do better for our community. I can't criticize my boy Ray who got a barbershop and he cuts hair and he wants to expand, but all he does is buy Jordans with his money, right? I cannot criticize Ray no more because that's what he knows. It was designed for him to stay here, right? So me as a consultant or somebody who wants to see him do well, I have to approach Ray from a different perspective. Hey, bro, what happened to the other? I thought we was expanding the shop. Yo, man, I really want to do that, but yo, man, it's crazy. All right, cool, Ray. You know what I'm gonna do for you? I'm gonna do an analysis for your business to show you how profitable you can be if you were to save your money, open up a second shop, so you could buy 6 Jordans at the same time instead of just one. A word, Sam? You could do that for me? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Come back to Ray. Hey, look, these are the projections and this is where we can go. This is how we can scale your business. If we just do 2 or 3 different things, bro. Just do 2 or 3 things differently, we could get over here. And that's my approach for Black businesses, because I have to understand where they come from. Ray didn't go to business school. Right.
Right.
He cut good hair. Everybody come to him. He has clients. Something's working, right? He has clients. He's been in business for 10 years for a reason. So I have to respect the fact that he's been in business for 10 years. I got to leverage the information and the power that God has given me to kind of come to him and meet him where he is to help him get to where he wants to go.
And people are more receptive to that. And people don't want to feel like they don't want to feel dumb or like they're not smart. So It's like how you approach them. I love that approach. So now let's transition into strategies. Now we're talking about knowing better, doing better. And I want to talk about enhancing leadership and driving change. So what are some strategies that business owners who are listening can employ to enhance leadership effectiveness, particularly in the context of like driving change, being the change?
Right. I think so. For me, I think a business owner has to understand its industry, right? So, I also coach at Columbia as well, in their CU Grow programs, where we help minority companies go through coaching so that they can become vendors at Columbia University, right? And the first thing I always tell my vendors, I've been doing this since 2018. The first thing I always tell my vendors is, you tell me about your industry, right? If I want to own a basketball team, right, I better know some basketball owners, no? I better know some basketball players, no? No, but you will be surprised. Hey Misha, I wanna do a podcast, and I wanna do a podcast about businesses and help Black businesses. Okay, cool. All right, well, tell me about some Black podcasts. Oh, I don't know no Black podcasts. Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit about how, like, so in your research, like, what have you learned so far about setting up a podcast? Oh, nah, I don't know nothing about no podcasts.
They heard some wealthy, no competition.
Wait, so you wanna start a podcast to help Black businesses, but you don't know no other Black podcasts. You don't listen to no other Black podcasts. You don't even know how to start a podcast. You don't even have a computer. Right? So I tell business owners, you got to learn and know your industry extremely well.
Yes.
Because when you learn and you know your industry, then you'll know the goods and the bads and the uglies of your industry. So you'll know when it's time to stay, when it's time to go, right? And when it's time to thrive, right? I like to use athletes a lot because when you talk to different athletes, they can tell you stats off the top of their head. One of the reasons why I love LeBron James so much, I don't know how people feel about that, but the reason why I love the King so much, he can tell you every play you did during the game. In his post-game conversations, interviews, he can tell you every play that happened in the game. That's how well he knows the industries. I remember one time another NBA player, I think it was Iman Shumpert, was saying how LeBron was telling the other team member, hey, now you need to go over here because the ball's going to come to you over there. So
what?
Yeah. His point guard was running the play. He wasn't paying attention to the play. And LeBron was telling him, oh, he's telling you to go over there, bro. You have to go over there. Because LeBron understands so much plays. He understands the other team's plays. So he can tell the other team, the opposing team member what the play is, just in case they forgot. That's how much he knows his industry. So when someone says they're an expert, right? Everybody's an expert. For me, I can tell when you're an expert when you can tell me what's happening in your industry. When you can tell me, hey, over the past 3 years, barbers have, the barber revenue have declined by 3% in the last 3 years. And the way that barbers have now been catching up and capturing more market shares by adding their own products, right? To keep up with the decrease of the revenue, like, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, okay. You know your industry. Okay. So now that you know that in the past 3 years, barber revenues has been dropping. What are you doing now? What are some of your plans? What are your ideas to keep up with those changes in revenue? Well, I'm adding a beautician in my shop. Well, I'm going to create my own shave cream, right? I'm creating different ideas and products so I can keep up with the revenue gap, so I can stay afloat. Right. So I think that before any business owner can really become an expert, you have to really know you got to know your industry, and the internet makes it very easy for you to know it. One of the things that I like to read a lot, even though they're a competitor, but technically no, because they're like all the way in Jupiter, is McKinsey Insights, right? So McKinsey, they have this online publication called McKinsey Insights, where they can tell you what's happening with each industry. They can tell you where the market is going, the flows, different things like that. So I always recommend to business owners, take a shot at looking at that. Make sure that you do research. There's so much different magazines, Black Enterprise. There's so many magazines that talk about different industries. So if you're in that industry, you need to learn as much as you can. And you'd be surprised how, reading and understanding what's happening in your industry can get you to either pivot, can get you to be like, maybe I should do this. Sometimes they talk about how lending is relaxed for certain industries. Certain lenders are lending at very low interest rates for certain industries, and it can really help you grow, because at the end of the day, it's your business.
Yes. I love that advice.
You want to make sure that you are sharp.
And I'm definitely going to put that in the show notes so that people have access to those resources, because that's a great one. And also the book as well. And I think that when people think about driving change or doing something different, even similar to your own journey, there are going to be challenges, and especially as a leader. So can you share some advice into the challenges that leaders, they might face, and when they're implementing these changes and how they can overcome them?
Listen, I think one of the things the best advice that I would give for leaders is just understand what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Understand what this is. Like, let's be very clear on what this is. You're deciding that you're not going to follow the crowd, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy. Literally, it's easy over here on this side, on the right. You have decided, you know what? I can do it better than everybody else. So I'm going to go over here on the left, right? Psychologically, you have to understand that what you're doing is crazy. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is crazy. It's psycho, right? Nobody in their right mind should be doing what you're planning to do. Nobody, right? Mm-hmm. Because on average, everyone should just go to the right. Oh, everybody's going over there. We go to school, we get our degrees, we work for a job, we pay a mortgage for 30 years, we pay off the house, and the day before they hand us the deed and they say the house is finally yours, you die, right? That's it. That's your story. We're done, right? You're deciding to say, no, I don't want to spend my whole life working to pay a mortgage. I want to be able to have an unlimited income potential. So I'm going to go to the left, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about it that way psychologically, it's easier to digest when everything is going wrong.
Yeah.
When everything is going wrong and everything is falling apart, you can now take a minute to say, oh, yeah, well, then again, I am doing something psychotic and crazy. Right? So yeah. Okay, cool. We're supposed to go through this, right? We're supposed to have these seasons. We're supposed to have these moments because we're not doing what the average and the regular person is doing every day. And when you're able to come to that understanding, right? And then part B is to say the best way to stay in business is to stay in business, mm-hmm. right? One of my big bros, Dr. Amos Latiker from California, always tells me that the best way to stay in business is to actually stay in it. So once you understand the concept that what you're doing, you're a psycho for doing what you're doing, right? And the best way to stay in business is to actually sit your butt right there and stick through it, right? Then you'll be successful, because you can only do something wrong so many times before realizing, this doesn't work. Let me try this. Let me try it this way. It's only a matter of time. You do it wrong, it's wrong. You get the answer wrong, it's wrong. But then at some point you're going to say, why don't I do it this way?
Yeah.
And when you do it that way so many times, you're like, oh, it works, right? Mm-hmm. So eventually, at some point, if you stick to it, right? Thomas Edison with the light bulb, right? So many other folks, like so many people who were trying to, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, right? At some point, if you stick to it and you keep doing it over and over, you're going to get it right. Yes. And if you're committed and if you're like 10 toes down, right? Eventually it's going to work. So that's my advice to people who are like, yeah, but Sam, it's so hard. I've been trying to do this thing and you don't understand how hard it is. Nobody's lending me no money. My credit is bad now. You know what I mean? I don't have no money. I'm like, well, now you did everything that you possibly could do wrong.
Yes. You're learning.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes.
Everything is wrong. Everything's upside down. Perfect. So now you know what not to do.
Yep.
So what are you going to do now? Right? What are you going to change? How are you going to do this in a different way so that you can get to the next side? So that's my advice. And I'm preaching to myself too, because like, I have other opportunities that I'm working with right now outside of my consulting company, where it's taking a very long time to get off the ground. Right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and this is for the serial entrepreneurs, sometimes you're like, man, I should have never gotten to this other business, right? I should just stick to the business that I know that's working, right? But it's the same concept. What are you going to quit? You're going to give it up, right? Or you're going to dig deep in the same way your other business is working. You're going to focus to make sure that this one works too, right? And it's the same concept sometimes, right? Even for me, myself, right? There's days where I'm like, man, I need to get the hell up out of this business right here, right? But if the same energy that I had with the consulting company is the same energy that I have to keep with the real estate development company, and eventually it'll pop.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that quote, from your friend, is the best way to stay in business is to stay in business. I love that. And it makes me think of when someone was previously on the podcast, they spoke about, you wonder why you keep failing. It's because you keep stopping. And I'm like, that is so real. It's just like you have to keep going. And, the day you think about quitting, tomorrow you might win. And I'm pretty sure so many people can relate, because entrepreneurship, it is tough, but we're tougher.
That's right.
So I love that. And so I think that all of this, what we've discussed, it also makes me think about resilience. And I think for people who are listening, like you mentioned, some of these things, we need to go through some of these things. So for you, how do you think all of this ties into building resilience, especially in business and when you have to lead others?
I mean, listen, I tell entrepreneurs all the time, right? Entrepreneurship is not linear, right? I could be an entrepreneur for I could be an entrepreneur for my consulting company, and I could work at a university as an adjunct professor and collect the check. It ain't linear. I always laugh at people who get on these podcasts or on these YouTube and say, 9 to 5 is this and 9 to 5 is that. It ain't linear, right? You could be an entrepreneur and a 9 to 5 at the same time. Okay. Yeah. Right. If anything, being an entrepreneur, it's not about whether you're making money 9 to 5 or not. It's really about your perspective on how you're receiving your income. Because the bottom line is, as you're not an entrepreneur if you don't have 9 to 5ers. You ain't even a real entrepreneur if you don't have a payroll.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. So I can't sit here and talk bad about 9 to 5ers when I'm hiring 9 to 5ers.
Yes.
So imagine me saying, you got 9 to 5ers, but then I'm looking for people to come work for me. It doesn't make sense. So it's not a linear path. Everyone's paths to entrepreneurship is different. And the encouragement is, do what works for you. You may be working at a 9 to 5 right now, but then you still got 6 to 10, right, to work on your business, right? You can start small. You can still work for a company, and still at the end of the day, you ain't working on the company's time, right? You're working on your own time. They don't care as long as you're not on their time, right? You ain't on their dime. You can start it off until you're at a position when you're ready to leave, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with starting your business and still working a 9 to 5, hiring people. I have friends who have companies and they still keep their 9 to 5 because they ain't letting go of that pension. Right? So listen, I got 3 years left on this pension. I'm going to start the business. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to put everybody in place. Yeah. When I leave my day job, I'm going to go straight to, it's still my company. It's in my name. It's still my building. I'm still responsible for everything, but I worked 17 years to get that pension. I got 3 more years left. I'm going to finish my 3 years. What's wrong with that?
Not a thing. I support that. I think that's true. And it's all about strategy. And I think a lot of people see online, like it looks, and I'm so glad you said that, it looks one way. But for a lot of people, I also think that what they have to understand is, for a lot of people, they want freedom. So entrepreneurship can bring you that freedom. And then, like you said, being an adjunct professor, you get to make your schedule. You get to decide. So that's the beautiful thing about it as well, is you can still do both.
Absolutely. I'm also the music director at my church right now. Right. I every Sunday I'm an employee. Well, it's through my company, but that's a client that, you know what I mean? I still got to be there every Sunday. Yeah. I still got to be there every week. I still have to report in. Right. Yes. So at the end of the day, Does anyone care how the stream of income came in?
Mm-hmm.
No. As long as it's multiplying, as long as you have the multiple streams and you're meeting your financial goals, it doesn't matter. So my advice is to someone who's out there who has a business idea, or someone who's listening to this podcast who knows that they're not living out their dream and their purpose right now. Start it little by little, right? Start it little by little. You got Saturday. A lot of people have Saturdays and Sundays off, right? That's 48 hours right there that are to yourself. Figure out how to put maybe 3 hours into this idea. You don't need to start a business and go get an LLC right away, right? Just write it down. Take that first step. Write it down. See how it feels, right? If it's a service business, service someone. You like to cut hair? Hey, tell somebody that, hey, I'm doing a promotion over the weekend. I'm cutting 25 heads. You don't have to own a barbershop to do that, right? If you're a nail tech, if you like to do your friend's nails, tell everybody, hey, I'm doing a promotion, right?
Yeah.
See how it feels. See what happens. And if you like it, and if you think that there's a possibility for this business to grow, you know what I mean? Contact SMP, www.smp. No, I'm joking.
You funny, because that's going to be my next question. So let's go. Let's talk about it.
If you have a company and you have a business and you think that you think that this is something that can grow and there's scalability here, reach out to your minority management consultant at www.smpgcs.com at our website. You'll learn a little bit about our team and the different things that we do. And we'll do a consultation. We'll have a conversation with you, and we'll talk about the next steps on how we could take your business to the next level. One of the new offerings that we have right now is we just added our healthcare arm, which that my wife operates, and it's just been phenomenal. She just came out with a great concept on how to help folks who want to get into the healthcare administrative arm when it comes to seniors, how they can partner with real estate developers to create a tremendous opportunity, right? So folks who may have, who may want to get into healthcare, who may want to get into, who may want to support seniors, feel free to go on our website and click, on Contact Us on, and learn more about SMP Health and how we can help you. Our other offering is SMP Energy, right? Black people ain't in energy at all. We're not in the energy sector, period, right? So if you're an environmentalist, or if you're someone who's interested in solar paneling installations, broadband, Wi-Fi installation, fiber optic network wiring, energy audits, air quality, those kind of things, and you might have a concept or an idea that can go to the next level. The government is looking for minorities in the energy sector. They're looking for you, right? So reach out to us. You can email me. I'll share my email, sam@smpgcs.com. Feel free to email me or go to info@smpgcs.com, whichever one, and reach out and let's have a conversation. Let's see how we take it to the next level. One of the things I always tell my students is conversations plus partnerships equals opportunities. C plus P equals O. That is the formula, I believe, for success for any business.
Love that. And I want to ask now, can you talk about the benefits of outsourcing this versus people trying to do it themselves?
Well, listen, if I'm a chef, right, chances are I don't like talking to governments about proposals and strategy, and if I'm talking to government about proposals and strategies, I'm probably not in the kitchen cooking food. So unless I can figure out to cook food and talk to government at the same time on a high level, it's not going to work, right? I'm not talking about, oh, I'm a chef and I cook for my family barbecue. No. I'm talking about I'm a chef that's looking to get the contract to cook for all of the seniors at a hospital. And it's a $4 million contract, right? Ain't nobody giving you $4 million and they're not talking to you. Right? If somebody gonna give you $4 million, they want to know everything about you. They want to know how long you've been doing this. They want to know what kind of food you cooking. They want to know where have you cooked before. They want to know how long you've been in business. They want to know everything about you and your mama. No?
Yes.
So how you gonna talk to that person that's giving you that hospital president that wants to give you $4 million and you in the kitchen cooking too? Can't do both because you still got to cook for that barbecue that's on Saturday because they paying you $1,000, right? So how do you cook for the barbecue that's paying you for $1,000 to cook for 300 people and also meet with the president of the hospital at the same time? Can't do it. Your management consultant has to go meet with the president of the hospital with your portfolio, with a deck, with pictures that show how your company, your catering company, not only is the best catering company, but is also a Black woman-owned catering company so that the hospital can check off the minority women business box. And that's why they should give you the contract.
Got it. Love that. And can you share or talk about in your journey, a story or is a business that you've worked with, like a transformational story that just really made you proud as a business owner?
Yeah. So one of my clients, I won't say the name, but they're a minority-owned fencing company, right? A Black-owned fencing company. I was able to work with them to help them identify different business opportunities because they just, they were working on traditional construction companies. Like, so if you're building a house, right, a lot of the things people don't think about. If you're building a house, you need fences, right? So for the most part, it's the construction company that's going to hire a fencing company as part of their own contract. But the average person is not going to be like, oh, I need a new fence today. Let me call a fencing company, right? They're either going to call a plumber, or if you're a little bit advanced, maybe, but like the average person is not going to be like, oh, let me call a fencing company. So working with that fencing company to think about different business strategies and different ideas for them to identify new revenue streams. And I recommended for them to look into energy, right? Energy companies, right? And solar paneling and different things like that, because I'm also working with energy clients, right? So I was able to create a partnership between one of my other energy client and one of my fencing client for them to come together to actually do business together. And I think that's really cool when I'm able to do that, because now what it does, it gets both of my clients, one, to pay me, right? Because I was the one that brokered the opportunity. But also it gets me to realize and to believe in this, right? Because that's the other thing. You got to have faith when you're being an entrepreneur that your product that you're selling or your service that you're giving is actually going to work. If you don't believe in it, that's where it all starts, right? It all starts in the mind. Once you start saying, nah, this ain't going to work. Yeah, I don't know why I did this. It's over from there. You're going to spiral away. But once you start believing, and you start to see things, you start to see the fruits of your labor, right? And then you start to see the revenue increase from the fruits of your labor or your idea. That's when it gives you that energy, right? Like, oh shoot, this thing worked. Yes. Oh my God. And I'm making money from it. Oh my God. Right. Like, let's do it again. Let's find new clients to kind of connect them and create partnerships. Right. So I think for me, that's what excites me. That's what gets me going. And those are the examples that keep me alive, right? Being able to make strategic partnerships or connections or winning a grant, right? Being able to say, hey, let's go after this. And your client was like, nah, I'll never win it. Trust me. And then they end up winning it, right? Those are the stories that really, really get me going and excited.
I love that. And speaking of what gets you going, let's talk about what keeps you organized and has helped you in your entrepreneurial journey. So do you have any favorite tools or resources that you can share with my audience?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I gave away a few secrets already. Black tax. Yes. I gotta say 3 times. You gotta say it 3 times for it to stick in people's heads, right? Yes. Sales tactics, sales strategy. The Black Tax by Sean Rochester. Go and get that book today, ladies and gentlemen. For me, it's really reading. I'm a little bit of a weirdo when it comes to that. Because like I have like mad tabs open on my computer right now, right? Because it's like I'm constantly reading because I understand how 99.9% of businesses are ideology, right? Mm-hmm. Ideology that came from necessity, right? Literally right now, I'm holding my water bottle. Somebody said, if someone's going places and they're thirsty and there's no water there, why don't we create something where they can put the water in? That way, no matter when they're thirsty, they can have it. Mm-hmm. Right? And now they've mass produced it. So this water bottle that I have in my hand is mass produced because hundreds of millions of people are like, yeah, I need a water bottle. If I'm going on a journey, if I'm going on anywhere, I should have a water bottle so I can drink water. Mm-hmm. Right? So now as an entrepreneur, you want to be in places and spaces where people are constantly thinking of new ideas. And you should also be training and exercising your mind to also always think of new ideas. Because just because you have one business and you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you can't own shares of another business.
Yes.
Right. So one of the hobbies that I picked up in entrepreneurship is banking. I have a new, I had a banking client back in 2020 that got me really thinking about how Black people bank, right? In the banking system. So now I'm in a season where I'm infatuated with figuring out what causes Black people to bank. What are their banking habits, right? I'm not a banker. You know what I mean?
Where's your hobby? I like it.
But I'm interested in learning this because, who knows where I will be? Who knows if I'm not going to be a banker in the future? Right. Who knows if I might not own my own bank, my own Black bank, right? Mm-hmm. Who knows if I'm not going to be a chairman of a board for a Black bank? But I'm learning right now all of the nuances involved with Black people in banking. Right. All that came from an article that I was reading, right, that talked about how Black people traditionally are going to have the same banking habits as their parents. Right. Even if it's online banking. Right. Our parents are not using online banking, but a lot of the same habits that our parents had, they're transfers to their kids. Right. And even though that it might change in platforms, but a lot of the same habits remain. Right. So learning on how to change some of these habits, learning how to add new habits, learning, what bank platforms are more user-friendly versus other banking platforms that are not so user-friendly, right? The fees associated with banking, how much money have banks been making off of fees, right? How can Black people get loans, right? Why is it that white people have loans, they default on loans all the time, but then they're still eligible to get another loan, but Black people are not, right? All these kind of nuances, right, are the things that excite me and get me going. So these are the things that these are the habits that I find myself getting into because I know that something's going to come out of it, right? I'm a serial entrepreneur, which means I have multiple businesses, right? And each business carries its own characters. Each business is like a child, right? So you want to be able to make sure you're feeding them, they're getting everything that they need, and that won't happen if I don't have what I need to be able to feed them. So reading, coming on podcasts like this, sitting on panels, having, little roundups, doing things like that so that I can stretch my business muscles so that I'm not left behind.
Love that. Good advice. And my final question is, what does it mean to you to be Black in business? Deep sigh.
For me, I mentioned that I'm a believer and that I'm in church on that organ every Sunday, right? And I have a deeply rooted understanding of my purpose. I understand what my purpose on this earth is. And my purpose on this earth is to leverage the access that I have to resources to help those who don't have access to those resources grow, right? So as a Black man in America in 2023, right, with education and with experiences that many other Black men don't have, right, and with mentors who were with Caucasian mentors, right, I understand the gap between getting a 17-year-old into a university and a jail facility, right? And I also understand how I play a vital role in that development. I play a role in whether the 17-year-olds in my neighborhood, in my church, on the corner, on whether they're going to end up in a university or starting a business, a trade school, or in jail. And once I've accepted that responsibility and I understand what that means, right, I now can take everything that I'm involved in, especially business, right, to help give them an opportunity. What does that mean, Sam? I can give that 17-year-old an internship at my business. No, what does it cost me? It doesn't cost me anything to give a 17-year-old Black kid an internship at SMP, where I now get to see them. They got to come to work every day, or they got to come on that virtual Zoom every day, right? I now get to empower and impact them and teach them the skills that I've learned to shift their minds, right, from going from one direction to the other, right? And that's in different demographics, right? You might have 17-year-olds that are justice involved or that are misdirected. You might have 17-year-olds that have access to everything and anything, but they're just disconnected, right? So being a vessel and having the platform to really help this 17-year-old Black kid decide, actually, I spoke to Sam, and Sam made it sound cool to go to college, right? So maybe I should go to college, or college ain't for me, but I could learn how to install a solar panel and make mad bread. You know what? Let me go do that, right? Versus doing something that's negatively impacting the community. So when I ask myself, or when I look at myself as a Black business owner, I don't just see myself as someone who's offering a product or service and getting compensated for it. I look at myself as someone who is impacting the community and getting paid really well to do it.
Love it. I love that. Impact. Such a key word. This has been amazing, Sam. So fruitful. And I thank you so much for being on the Black to Business podcast. And I know people who are listening, you already gave them an email. So they're going to be like, okay, how can we connect with you maybe on social, and how can we support you? So please do share.
Sure. Absolutely. So again, you visit our website at www.smpgcs.com. That stands for SMP Global Consultants. And that you can learn more about me and my company there. Or you can go on my LinkedIn. So you can Samuel and Pierre. My Instagram is at Senator Pierre. Instagram is at Senator Pierre. I was a senator in my college student government. So that's where that comes from. And then, you could learn more about me there. And I'd love to engage with folks. I love to learn more about people and what they do and how we can be helpful.
Thanks. I will definitely put that in the show notes. Again, Sam, thank you again for pouring into my audience and just doing the work that you do. I think it says a big deal. It's a big deal to be a risk taker and also to focus on the Black community. That's such a huge deal, and we appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. So just keep pushing the culture forward, and thank you again for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Black to Business podcast. I just love how Sam shared his journey of betting on himself following graduation and not taking the traditional path. Even though it was filled with challenges, there were so many rewards. And also his decision to focus on helping Black-owned businesses thrive is not only inspiring, but it is essential. So here are a few takeaways from this episode. We learned about the crucial role of management consulting in achieving business success. We explore strategies for enhancing leadership effectiveness and driving change within your organization. And Sam shared some invaluable insights on navigating disruptions and leveraging emerging technologies to gain a competitive edge. And we also discussed some practical steps to build resilience within your business. Now, if you want to learn more about Sam and the resources that he mentioned in the episode, as well as how you can connect with him, please visit our website at blacktobusiness.com/171. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of the Black to Business family. I will chat with you next week, same time, same place.